Hi, this is Jack from Alpha Charts with a state of the market video. Before we get started, this video is for educational purposes only. These are not recommendations to buy, sell, or hold any stock or security. And I may hold positions in some of the equities mentioned. Know your time frame and risk tolerance. Today is June 7th, 2020. Also, if you like these videos, please like and subscribe. Okay, let's get to markets. So we have the SPX up on the screen, as we always start with that one. And I mean, it has been an absolute amazing rally. So when we zoom in, what am I looking at? We're starting to go a little parabolic here. We'll see what next week brings. But as we go parabolic into this all-time high or potential prior resistance up here, that would make me that may be an area that we could see some either consolidation or pullback. I mean, looking from all-time highs, just a rough estimate, we are roughly 6% from all-time highs. So that says, it depends on your time frame, depends on your risk tolerance, but saying that we may get some consolidation or pullback, I don't know if I'd be putting on new longs until we see what happens up here. 6% isn't that much, at least in my opinion. Again, but if you have a smaller time frame, maybe 6% is what you're looking for. And so, but everything says that I can see that any consolidation or pullback would be an area that I'd want to get long. All the moving averages are moving up. From the peak and from the trough of this most recent major move. Those are moving up, the average volume and average price. So everything looks very constructive here. Again, I think it's a viable pullback if we get one, or even better, if it just consolidates sideways, that'd be even more bullish. But again, this parabolic look to it right here, again, depending on your time frame, that could be a little this area may be a little trouble when we get there. All right, let's move to the Qs. I'm going to go to a weekly chart because this trend, which has been intact, again, since the 09 lows, right? So that's where I'm getting this trend from. And as we zoom in, we're seeing we are at all-time highs, but we're switching back to the daily, we are coming to the top of this trend channel. It's just a line, right? It doesn't mean anything, but history says that whenever we came to the top of this channel, we pulled back some. That's just history. I don't, it's the chart. It's right here. Every time we came to this line or close to it, we had some type of consolidation, some type of pullback. And so here we are again, coming to the top of this line. What happens up here? I don't know. We could rip through it. That's a possibility. We could go sideways, create some space. That's a possibility. We could pull back. That's a possibility. We're only about 4% from that line. Again, pretty darn close. Looking at the moving averages, though, looking at volume, everything looks really good. So I think the pullback would probably, or consolidation would be a very viable area. IWM, small caps, again, just ripping higher all week long, really. Took out this support area with a gap. So that is a very bullish, I think, scenario right there, right? And so it was up almost 4% on Friday. I mean, it's just amazing. And on the week, it was up 8% on the week. Again, just crazy moves, right? But this was a crazy move too. So now we get could be the snapback to it, right? We have lots of areas potentially, but this was a potential area. It gapped through it. I mean, that's really strong. This was a potential area. It gapped through it. Again, so we're showing a lot of strength in these markets. we're also starting to see all the moving averages really start to turn higher here. So that's small caps, again, very positive. It just shows kind of the breadth. We had SPX looking really good. We had the Qs looking really good, and now the IWM looking really good. Here is Dow Jones composite average. Again, this was an area of potential resistance, and it looks like it's meeting a little bit into this area. I mean, it could jump right over it tomorrow, but you see it did go higher and then pulled back some. So we'll see what happens. Big volume 2 into it. So again, just a potential area for resistance. But again, any pullback, I think, will be, whatever. Even if it was a 10% pullback, like that's not that big of a deal. I mean, coming from the bottom, which is right around here, to the top or even closing, it's moved 47% off the bottom, right? If we give back 10%, 12%, is that big of a deal? I mean, just looking from the moving average from here to just the 23 day, that's only 7%. So if we get back, 8 to 10%, that's perfectly normal in my book. If we give back, even coming into here, that's just around 10%. No big deal. Again, after a 50% move up. So just something to keep in mind. And I'm not saying it's going to pull back, but coming into the areas that we're seeing in all the markets, we're coming into a place of potential resistance on multiple charts, multiple areas. So that just makes me a little more cautious. Financials. I mean, just absolute beast move right here, right? Going up. Financials have been literally on fire. Going to the weekly just to see the percent. It's easier. You're looking at 12% move in a week. I mean, that's unbelievable. So what does that mean? I mean, maybe we went too far too fast. We're coming into this area right here, coming back up into this shaded area. We're looking at, let's just see how long this would be. Another 15% higher. Yeah, sure, it could go there. I don't know if it will. Obviously, nobody does. And it's already had a pretty awesome move so far. I mean, off the lows, we are 50% off the lows, right? So with that being said, any kind of pullback would be very constructive. And I actually love the IYG chart. This is the financial services. These are the big boys, right? I'm going to go to weekly here. These are the big boys: your JP Morgan, your Bank of America, your Wells Fargo, American Express, Goldman Sachs, Berkshire Hathaway. So these are the big guns. And going from the bottom, I like that chart right there. Going from the bottom to where we are today, 55%. So another big move coming into this resistance. So here was your 0708 top, big spot right there. 2018 top, right? We broke through it, and if you go back and look at the archives, I was super bullish. I saw an inverse head and shoulders here, right? I saw a nice breakout, super bullish here, and then I got stopped out as on the way down here, and it just kept going and going and going. Now we're coming back to this important area. Every time I hit this area, it was resistance until here. Do I know if this, and actually it was kind of resistance here. Do I know if this will be resistance again? Nope. It could gap right through it. But we can only go by history. And history says that there's a good chance that the first try or even the second try may be met with some selling. So as much as that financials have been amazing, we may get some selling as we come into these resistance points. All right, so moving to semiconductors. Now, semiconductors closed at all-time highs, which is bullish. It's hard to say all-time highs is not bullish. You did see that it did not close near the top. It closed the bottom of the range. It has an inverted hammer look to it. I'm sure there's some other name for this type of candlestick, but what it does on Monday or Tuesday of next week is going to be very important. Does it come back and fall back below, creating a false breakout scenario, or do we consolidate and start to move higher? That is what I'm looking for next week in SMH. It's a big deal. I mean, SMH is a big deal. And so what this candle does going forward, what this chart does going forward is really important. All-time highs, super bullish. Pullback, I mean, it even pulled back to just some moving averages, 8%, 12%. Like that would be normal. And then it would make some kind of, cup and handle looking pattern. And then that breakout would be super strong. Again, it just broke out after a move of, we'll do from this consolidation, around 8%, right? Go to the weekly, should be about 8%. There it is, 8.3%. So, and the volume was actually a little bit lower in this breakout. So the healthier would be condition would be a pullback and then a real breakout. So I'm not buying semis up here, but I may be a buyer. If we can gap fill this, right? Maybe even come down, back down to here, maybe hit some of these moving averages. That would be my bullish scenario. Everything is bullish. I just think that we are extended. So let's look at lumber. We were talking about this area as being important, and we broke out, came back, little tiny baby retest, and we moved higher. I mean, super bullish. Nothing bearish about this chart. Looking at the value line geometric index, again, went up, came back, retest, moving higher, potentially coming into some resistance right over here, right? We'll go to the weekly just to see where that resistance actually means. And you see it is a significant point of resistance. We'll go back to 98, 07, right? 2015. Here it broke out, kind of hung out above it, but never really moved crazy high. Came back down, and now we're coming back into it. And it was support here, obviously. And now we're going to come back into it, right? So again, moved really fast this week. We were talking about a 11% move in the value line geometric index. I mean, it just shows that everything is moving together. There's good breadth in the market. May need a breather, right? Don't be surprised if over the next week or 2 weeks we get a pullback, and that's the excitement right there, right? So it's not that we're going to pull back and go down to a 50% or 100% retracement or whatever it may be. At least I don't think we are. We could. I think it's a viable pullback, and I think the value line geometric index just shows the amount of breadth that's going on in this market. SPX TLT, switch to a line chart here. I mean, just ripping higher. It just shows that there is a risk on move in the market, in my opinion, and that's, I think, the chart sustains that opinion. Again, do we get a pullback? Yeah, sure. I mean, this is like straight up, right? Look at the weekly. I mean, literally straight up from May 11th. So yeah, there could be some type of pullback. There could be some type of consolidation, some type of small risk off event. But yeah, we broke back above this area and haven't looked back yet in this chart. All right, let's look at credit spreads, right? So we want to see narrowing of credit spreads, and that is literally exactly what we're seeing. They just continue to narrow. That's a bullish chart right there, right? We broke down below here, we kept going lower, and we're gonna get back, we're getting back towards this, let's just go weekly, right? We're getting back into this much narrower, much more bullish scenario. Looking at the VIX, again, the VIX coming back in to a much more narrow range or bullish range, we'll call it, in this lower end, or 24.5. I think anything under 24.5, 25-ish, is a bull market, in my opinion. Now, if we get a good spike back up, that changes my opinion. But as of right now, looks really good. Let's go to the put call index. So this is equity only put call. And again, this is another chart showing that things are too heated, things are frothy. Could we keep going higher a little bit more? Absolutely. It's done in the past, right? It can do it again. But, you know, and again, this is weekly. Let's go to the daily because it gives a little more context, you know. So back in January, we were up this way. But look how long it stayed in this bullish range. Now, you know, getting more and more extreme. That was November 2017. You know, and there's July 2015. But again, this is frothy, and it can go further, obviously, and it can stay up this way for a period of time, obviously. But couple the put call ratio with the resistance overhead in so many charts, a pullback, you know, again, a viable pullback, in my opinion, over the next week or two, is very possible, in my opinion. Let's look at the fear greed index. Here is the CNN fear greed index, and we're into greed. Again, it's not extreme, right? This is not an extreme chart, but we are now into the greed area. So this could go even further this way over the next week. But as we even go further, I think a pullback is more and more likely. All right, let's look at let's look at copper ratio versus gold ratio, right? Right, copper versus gold. This was the area that we were looking at, that I was looking at, and I said if it gets above this area, it's bullish. And boom, this week we got above the area, and we got it in a strong fashion, very bullish. Here's the next area to watch, but even without that, this on the weekly chart could be considered a false breakdown. I think that this zooming higher and taking this out would even further the bull case. Really love that it's back above here. As long as we're above this area right here, very bullish. Back to a daily. Again, this to me is more of a false breakdown look, and we could zoom much, much higher. I'm looking at the stocks above their 50-day moving average. Again, it shows great breadth, but usually when it gets this heated, this high, I mean, looking back, it hasn't been that high in a really long time, right? Where is this? 09, you know, I mean, this was 2012. So I think a pullback is probably needed just to cool this off and get back into a more trending range right here. You know, it's been just so whippy. All right, so things that are making me a little concerned also is the leaders, you know, some of the software names with a big pullback. Again, huge run. So this may be foretelling of a bigger market pullback. Doesn't mean that these aren't still the leaders. They just may be leading on the pullback, right? I mean, looking at CrowdStrike, you know, came out to all-time highs. This ugly looking candle right here, and now it's pulling back some. Doesn't mean that's done. Doesn't mean that we're gonna go back down here. And you know, I mean, everything's moving higher, so it's probably a viable pullback. But it is a market leader that is pulling back. A couple more examples. Ring Central made a lower high, and is kind of starting to look like it may want to break down here. And IFI again, just a couple examples. Very ugly looking candle here. It was a leader on the way up, and it may be a leader on the way down, wherever that down may be. Some very interesting charts. Again, XLF, a lot of strength in there. I mean, look at energy, right? A lot of strength in energy. That's bullish, I think. XLI, this is industrials. Again, so your transports are in there. So your airline stocks went nuts this week. Your cruise ship stocks went nuts this week. A lot of your travel stocks went really crazy this week, and you can see it in the industrial chart, right? So again, big bullish move, and then XLB materials again coming into resistance, so potentially right up here, but ridiculous move this week. I mean, look at it on the weekly. I mean, look at that candle, unbelievable, 8% move, boom, but right back into potential resistance. So, I mean, to sum everything up, I think that the market's telling us that it may have a little bit more upside left before some type of pullback. It may not. So I think your time frame matters. The pullback is only a possibility, it's only a potential. Maybe we get to this area, maybe we don't, maybe we stop a little bit short of it, maybe we fill this gap. Very possible. Again, we're only talking about, 4%, 4.5%, something like that. So yeah, we may have some more upside left, but I think the move has been so strong. I'd wait. I mean, for me personally, I'm in roughly 50% cash right now. I lined up my load this week, missed some of the. I definitely wasn't fully invested on Friday, and I did miss some of this move right here, unfortunately. But I think that the pullback is very viable, and I think that we have to be be aware of that. Now, if levels start being taken out again, and we start slicing through these moving averages and these prior levels of support resistance that really didn't matter here, but if we start going below these levels, things may change. But I think that's the less likely scenario. I think the pullback is very viable if it happens. So anyway, hope you found this video very helpful. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen it, I'm doing a hypothetical buy and hold for 1 quarter video series also. So I started over a week, just about a week ago, and the results from week 1 are in. So if you're really interested, check it out. It's one of my playlists or whatever. It's on my page, my YouTube page. But this is interesting because as I'm looking at potentially going to extend my time frame a little bit. I want to see if 10% is the right drawdown. These were the leading stocks at a week ago. Well, they all got hit this week, almost all of them, right? So a bunch are yellow, 3 of them are red, which means they got stopped out. It just shows you the leadership is retracing some. Now, it's going to be interesting as we go through the next 12 weeks what this looks like in the prior leadership. I think it'll give me a lot of information. I'm sharing it with everybody, so check out those videos also. Again, if you like this kind of stuff, like and subscribe to the channel. Hope you all have an amazing week. Take care. Stay safe out there.